ADR-LINK is a program of the London Family Court Clinic and matches families referred for service to qualified ADR practitioners. The practitioners are not LFCC employees and do not work for Children's Aid Society offices. They are independent, impartial professionals trained to assist families and CAS to work towards resolutions that will focus on the best interests of the child or children.
As we forge forward and continue working with Indigenous nations, we want to first acknowledge, respect, and recognize the deep connection and historical relationship Indigenous peoples and the land we share. With support, accountability, and much respect to the following traditional homelands and territories of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe or Chippewa Nation, Haudenosaunee, people of the Iroquois, which includes the United Nations, Lenape, also known as the Delaware, and the Attawandaron, also known as the Neutral, the Wyandot, also known as the Huron. There are 11 First Nation communities in the region of southwestern Ontario and over 120 First Nations in all of Ontario.
Alternative Dispute Resolution, most often referred to by its acronym of ADR, came into being in 2006 when the Child and Family Services Act, as it was then called, was amended to stipulate that Children's Aid Societies must consider ADR for children who are or who may be in need of protection. There are three main prescribed methods of ADR: child protection mediation, family group conferencing, and original dispute resolution, which is sometimes called Indigenous approaches to ADR. There is a Ministry Directive, CW-005-06, which outlines the three prescribed methods of ADR, as well as a fourth option that can be community-specific and is approved by the Executive Director of a Children's Aid Society. The directive outlines the qualifications and criteria for ADR facilitators, including criteria for neutrality, use of a written agreement including confidentiality provisions, and the conditions under which the CAS must provide notice to the Office of the Children's Lawyer. Referring workers from Children's Aid Societies, band representatives, FNMI communities, or any other party can request ADR services for families, either prior to court involvement or during court involvement. A judge may also request that the involved parties consider participating in a prescribed method of ADR. All ADR services in Ontario are completely voluntary, and participants can elect to not participate in an ADR service. In the West region, ADR-LINK is funded by the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services, also known as the MCCSS, and housed at the London Family Court Clinic. ADR-LINK has the responsibility to manage referrals and match the referral to an ADR practitioner. For more information on how to make a referral, please view the video on ADR admin and how to make a referral. Let's look at an overview of family group conferencing. Our ancestors gathered around a fire in a circle. Families gather around a kitchen table in a circle. And we call upon systems to work together with family and community to solve problems, support one another, and connect to one another. This new way is very old. Family group conferencing has been around for over 30 years, but it draws upon ancient Indigenous and Native traditions and combines this ancient tradition with the modern concepts of democracy and inclusivity. We are deeply indebted to the Indigenous peoples for keeping this tradition alive as a source of wisdom. This seems like a perfect union of our democratic principles as a society and our values around emotional intelligence and connectedness. In FGC, the circle is a container that is strong enough to hold anger, frustration, joy, pain, truth, conflicts, diverse worldviews, intense feelings, silence, and paradox. Circles acknowledge that we are all in need of help, and that helping others helps us at the same time. FGC practitioners work to create the space to support restorative conversations to happen through inclusion and preparation. FGC is based in the following values, as described by the Kemp Center in Denver, Colorado. Children have a right to maintain their kinship and cultural connections throughout their lives. Children and their parents belong to a wider family system that both nurtures them and is responsible for them. The family group, rather than the agency, is the context for the child welfare and child protection resolutions. All families are entitled to the respect of the state, and the state needs to make an extra effort to convey respect to those who are poor, socially excluded, marginalized, or lacking power or access to resources and services. The state has a responsibility to recognize, support, and build the family group's capacity to protect and care for its young relatives. Family groups know their own histories, and they use that information to construct thorough plans. Active family group participation and leadership is essential for good outcomes for children, but power imbalances between family groups and Child Protection Agency personnel must first be addressed. The state has a responsibility to defend family groups from unnecessary intrusion and to promote their growth and strength. Family group conferencing is guided by the following principles. In FGC, family is extended family or friends of the family. This can include cousins, aunts, uncles, siblings, grandparents, and so on. This process has several phases. Referral meeting between agency staff and the practitioner, writing of the summary of information and concerns to be addressed, approval of the summary, and preparation of the family. This starts with the parents, usually, by gaining their consent, preparing all family and inviting interested parties to the conference, OCL where applicable, children and other service providers. The conference day, which is divided into 3 parts, introduction and information sharing, family private time, and presentation of the plan. The practitioner facilitates the first and third part of the meeting and is available to the family for questions during private time, and will contact CAS as needed. The CAS attends only the first and third part of the meeting, but must be available all day as there may be questions or clarification required. Conference days can take up to 8 hours. An independent practitioner, meaning they are non-case carrying, is responsible for convening the family group meeting with agency personnel. When a critical decision about a child is required, dialogue occurs between the family group and the responsible Child Protection Agency personnel. Providing an independent practitioner who is charged with creating an environment in which transparent, honest, and respectful dialogue occurs between agency personnel and family groups signifies an agency's commitment to empowering the family and non-oppressive practice. The independent practitioner is the keeper of the process throughout every step, with the goal of the family group assuming leadership in decisions about the safety, permanency, and well-being of their beloved children and youth. Independent and impartial coordination of FGC helps to dismantle the power imbalance between systems and those receiving service. This leads to increased family leadership and helps to address issues regarding prejudice, power, and privilege in a manner that honors all voices in the room while also challenging the biases and structures that privilege some over others and that damage the possibility of a healthy yet diverse relationship between the Child Welfare Agency and the family group. The Child Protection Agency personnel recognize the family group as their key decision-making partner, and time and resources are available to convene this group. Providing the time and resources to seek out family group members and prepare them for their role in the decision-making process signifies an agency's acceptance of the importance of family groups in formulating safety and care plans. Greater family participation delivers a fundamental reorientation of child welfare services from an expert-led model to one which promotes family group participation and leadership in child welfare decision-making. This, in turn, is in line with the legislation guidelines and provides opportunity for the family system to achieve greater child safety and be the context for child protection resolution. Thus, the ministry's desired reorientation is achieved through family-led decision-making. Family groups have the opportunity to meet on their own, without the statutory authorities and other non-family members present, to work through the information they have been given and to formulate their responses and plans. Providing family groups with time to meet on their own enables them to apply their knowledge and expertise in a familiar setting and to do so in ways that are consistent with their ethnic and cultural decision-making practices. Acknowledging the importance of this time and taking active steps to encourage family groups to plan in this way signifies an agency's acceptance of its own limitations, as well as its commitment to ensuring that the best possible decisions and plans are made. When agency concerns are adequately addressed, preference is given to a family group's plan over any other possible plan. In accepting the family group's lead, an agency signifies its confidence in and its commitment to partnering and supporting family groups in caring for and protecting their children, and to building the family group's capacity to do so. Follow-up processes after the family group decision-making meeting occurs until the intended outcomes are achieved, to ensure that the plan continues to be relevant, current, and achievable. Family group decision-making is not a one-time event, but an ongoing, active process. Follow-up efforts include, but are not limited to, ongoing family group decision-making meetings that are scheduled to accommodate the family group's needs and availability, with a focus on progress, achievements, unresolved issues and concerns, new information, and additional resources, resulting in the plan being updated and revised as needed. And frequent proactive communication between the system and family group representatives to support the successful implementation of the plan. Referring agencies support family groups by providing the services and resources necessary to implement the agreed-upon plans. In assisting family groups in implementing their plans, agencies uphold the family group's responsibility for the care and protection of their children, and contribute by aligning the agency and community resources to support the family group's efforts. The plan and all supporting documents, including the summary of information, concerns, voice of the child report, and so on, is then uploaded to ADR-LINK's files and stored. The family group can always access their plan through ADR-LINK in the future. FGC practitioners are certified and registered with the George Hull Center. They explore the issues and dynamics involved in working with a family group who may have complicated and complex relationships with the system. Practitioners go through extensive training that helps to ensure that families and children are able to express their views freely and safely when there are conflictual relationships. The journey on the mental health continuum may be more advanced in one or more parties. There may be complex issues of domestic violence or sexual harm, or the conflict environment may create additional risks. Practitioners help ensure that the plans created are family-driven and not predetermined by agencies through the development of fair and concise child protection concerns to be addressed, but allow space for the family to plan. Group dynamics are complex at best. When groups are experiencing high conflict, they tend to require more intentional preparation by the practitioner before coming together. Creating the space that is safe enough to address these complex issues is the responsibility of the practitioners. FGC practitioners are trained to comply with the provisions in the CYFSA regulation that deals with confidentiality and of access to protection records and information, and in the values and principles of the FGC process. It is this, not system bias, that guides the service. Confidentiality protects the family from any information prepared which is exchanged during the process and being used against them in court. The practitioner cannot give testimony in a court proceeding regarding the FGC process, meeting, or outcome. The only thing that can and does go into court when required is the plan or agreement reached between the family group and the agency. The practitioner keeps information shared in preparation meetings confidential and does not share this information with anyone unless, under duty to report, there is a real or perceived threat to a person's, child's, or youth's life. No lawyers attend FGC conferences, with the exception of the OCL, who may be assigned as determined by the Office of the Children's Lawyer. The OCL is prepared for the conference by the practitioner and helps the practitioner to prepare the child or youth for the FGC conference and attends the first and the third part of the meeting, but they do not participate in the family decision-making, family private time, or determine whether or not their client is attending. The OCL helps to ensure that the child's voice is heard, typically through a written statement. When to refer. There are a few forms of ADR: CPM, FGC/FGDM, and IADR/ODR, and other. FGC is used under the following circumstances. Keep in mind, FGC is not mediation. Because the process meets the ministry requirement regarding family or child and youth voice in decision-making, bring the family together whenever there is a plan of protection needed. At intake, when children are still in the home with one or more parents and a plan is needed to help increase well-being and safety, or when a child has been removed from the home and permanency planning is needed or a plan to return the child home with a plan to address the agency's protection concerns and worries is needed. Although there may be some conflict resolution, both between family members and the CAS, and although communication is likely to improve, the primary goal of this process is to develop a plan which ensures the child's safety and well-being. The practitioner does not actively mediate disputes or conflict resolution. CPM can be useful in sorting out issues or conflicts, and an agreement is needed to address this, whereas FGC is needed when there is a plan of protection needed and conflict may also be sorted out as part of the process. There are several phases to the process. It begins with a referral, usually from child welfare. The practitioner then reaches out to the worker, manager, and other workers at the agency who are involved and sets up a referral meeting to capture the strengths, history, worries, and concerns to be addressed. The practitioner then reaches out to parents and gains consent to share the child protection information with everyone they meet with to prepare them for the conference. The practitioner then begins meeting with the family members. This can include friends, uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents, or even community service providers, to prepare them for the meeting. A date is then chosen, the family and agency come together in whatever way they can, the conference happens, the plan is made, and a follow-up date is often generated. After confirming the family is willing to participate in an ADR service and consents to their information being shared with ADR-LINK and the ADR practitioner, complete the ADR referral form and provide as much detail as possible. Send the completed Office of the Children's Lawyer notification to the Office of the Children's Lawyer via fax to 416-314-8050 or email ocllegaldocuments@ontario.ca. Send the completed ADR referral form, all signed consents, the Office of the Children's Lawyer notification form, and proof that it has been faxed to the Office of the Children's Lawyer, to ADR-LINK@lfcc.on.ca, or fax the documents to 519-679-4234. All documents required to process a referral for this service can be found at www.adr-link.ca on the resources page. For further information about family group conferencing, please consult the ADR-LINK website, www.adr-link.ca.